Hi lads, welcome back to the channel, and I know what you're thinking, oh Galatea, what is that amazing artwork behind you? Did you do that? And yes, my friends, I did, and as you can see, it is a perfect copy of the Mona Lisa, only this one is landscape for some reason, but with a twist, because I painted it using all the colours of the wind. Yeah, okay, so that might be a stupid joke, but if I went to the Tate Modern with that and told them that I'd wafted this piece of paper around in strip clubs in order to paint with the air to represent how I think men never really see women beyond just their bodies, you know for a fact that they'd hang this in their best room available and instantly make me a millionaire. Pocahontas was one of my childhood heroes. Part of the reason that I still have long hair now is because when I was 3 years old, all I wanted was long hair like Pocahontas. I too wanted to dramatically stand on the edge of a cliff, watching as the love of my life sailed away, my long hair gracefully blowing behind me in the wind like a flag. Of course, all children must eventually come to terms with cold, cruel reality. And one of the hardest moments of growing up for me, a real loss of innocence I think, was in realising that what actually happens when I have my hair down and stand in the wind is something more like this. Okay, no, a bigger moment of cold, cruel realisation was when I realised that Pocahontas, my favourite movie of all time, was actually probably very disrespectful and a lot of people don't really like it. I found this out a long time ago, don't worry, this isn't a recent discovery, but I was prompted to make this video now because I recently watched a Lindsay Ellis video called Pocahontas Was a Mistake, and it got me thinking about stuff. Now, a couple of things. This video isn't a response to her video, although I will be referencing some of her points, and it's also not a video being like, she's wrong! That's not to say that I necessarily agree with absolutely everything she said in her video, but it's still a very good video and you should definitely go watch it if you haven't already. So, why am I making this video then? I'm not really sure. I think this video is sort of a love letter to a movie that I know and acknowledge is deeply flawed, but even with that knowledge, I can't quite bring myself to stop loving it anyway. Yeah, I know. I can already see the completely valid comment saying, it's easy for me to say that, oh, how nice for me, that it's not my culture or history being trampled on and rewritten. I'm not arguing that people should see this movie as something completely separate from what it's based on, but only that the movie does have merit if you can see past its sins. These were the circumstances under which I first watched this movie. I have no memory of how old I was when I first watched this, because this movie has been in my consciousness for as long as I can remember, but I'd say at the oldest I was probably about 3. And as a 3-year-old English girl, I hate to admit it, but my knowledge of American history was lacking. This is kind of where I wish this movie could be a separate and totally independent story from its source material, even though of course it can't, and I'm not saying it should be. Because sure, it's not great that Disney decided to make Pocahontas all grown up, especially when you consider that she was a real life person who would have been about 10 years old when she met John Smith. But, remember everyone, we're watching this movie through the eyes of 4-year-old Galatea. So obviously I couldn't have articulated any of this, even to myself, at age 4. But now, in theory, my brain is bigger, so I will try and analyse why me back then felt so connected to her. Through the eyes of me now. And I'll tell you what I saw, and why this really cemented Pocahontas as my favourite Disney princess of all time. So, in the olden days, back when I was a little child, most of the Disney princesses were pretty bland. At least in my opinion. There was something very childlike about them, something very wide-eyed and vulnerable. None of the other Disney princesses really grabbed me and resonated with me in the same way. Yes, I still liked them, because I was 4 and I thought Aurora's golden hair was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen in my entire life. But I didn't really connect with them. They didn't seem real. I mean, for fuck's sakes, they cried like this. No! Just a quick side note. Over the course of my 23 years on this planet, I've seen a lot of girls cry. I have 2 younger sisters, and the more observant amongst you may have noticed, if you're paying attention, that I, too, am also, in fact, a girl. Oh, and also, when I was a teenage girl, I lived in a boarding house with 60 other teenage girls. So when I tell you that during all that time, through all the tears and the arguments and the boys and the hormones and the monthly visits from Mother Nature, I want you to imagine, by the way, the level of tears and tension that occur when 60 teenage girls all living together, synchronized at the same time. I love you! So when I say that through all of that, I have never, ever seen a girl cry like this, I really want you to understand that I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, point being, we had those Disney princesses. And then there was Pocahontas. I was in awe of Pocahontas. I wanted to be Pocahontas. So much so that I made my mum make me a Pocahontas costume so that I could really get into character. And yes, I know that nowadays this probably counts as very culturally insensitive, but before you all go crazy and cancel me, please can we remember that this was in 2001 and I was 4. This love didn't just last as a little kid. No, this has been a lifelong love. I still love Pocahontas so much when I was 15 that my boyfriend at the time got me a Pocahontas necklace, which obviously I am wearing for this video because how could I not? It keeps flipping around, piece of junk. Sorry, I'm joking. If you're watching this, mate, thanks for the necklace. And the memories. He probably is watching this. He watches my videos sometimes. He messages me as soon as the video goes up and like, never contact me again. You can't see it though. Look, it's Pocahontas. See? Not too close. It's not that kind of channel. You have to pay extra for that. Subscribe to my OnlyFans. Why do I do these things? Before I get disowned by everyone I know. I don't have an OnlyFans. You'll be happy to find out that I don't take my clothes off for money, so you can still be proud of my life choices. Pocahontas had an irrepressible curiosity and an adventurous spirit. As she herself says, to be safe we lose our chance of ever knowing what's around the river bend beyond the shore where the gulls fly free. Pocahontas would happily sacrifice safety and security in favour of freedom and adventure. If it means giving up her freedom, then she doesn't want a handsome sturdy husband who builds handsome sturdy walls and never dreams that something might be coming just around the river bend, just around the river bend. Around the river bend. Really not that hard to grasp. There's so many shots of her running through the forest, being totally surrounded by nature, literally as free as a bird. And that expression of such freedom spoke to me as a little kid, and it still speaks to me now. I think what I always really loved about Pocahontas that I could never have articulated as a little kid is that she demonstrated that you can be strong not in spite of, but because of femininity. A lot of you know that I feel very strongly about femininity being portrayed as weak and useless compared with masculinity. When female characters aren't allowed to be both feminine and strong, but must either be one or the other, because apparently to be feminine is to be weak. I spent a lot of time as a kid fighting against the fact that I am naturally very feminine. I really wanted to distance myself from the slightly pathetic way that Disney princesses and a lot of other characters like that were portrayed. Which, and I'm not going to go into this, but I think probably stems from the whole, you know, similar feelings as the whole not like other girls phenomenon. And no, I'm not blaming it all on the media I consumed. There were various reasons before people start calling me Anita Sarkeesian again in the comments. I felt like there was a lot of well-intentioned messages that actually made me feel worse. Like, hey, all girls, all of them, all the girls, no problem. Can all of them do all the things that all the boys can do? And if you are feminine, well, sorry, then you're weak. And you're somehow giving in to the patriarchy. You poor little oppressed female with your poor little weak and wobbly feminine brain. Don't you know, you should be masculine like all the boys if you really want to be a strong woman. And I'll be honest with you guys, I really did want to be a strong woman. I always felt like I had to prove myself. I remember physically fighting with some of the boys in the playground when I was a kid. Not because I wanted to, and I wasn't good at it. But they said that I wasn't strong like they were. So I had to prove a point. I think I was really trying to prove to myself that I was just as valuable as them, and it took me quite a while to see femininity as valuable. I felt not good enough or strong enough because I'm not very masculine. Unlike several Disney princesses, Pocahontas was no helpless damsel in distress, yet she also wasn't this unachievable image of a sword-wielding warrior. It was her that saved John Smith in the end by being brave, and she didn't have to sacrifice her femininity in the process. In fact, she saved him in, I thought, a very feminine way.
If you kill him, you'll have to kill me too.
Cue all the comments saying, "Oh my god, you hate women who are naturally more masculine, or women who are good at fighting, you bigot." No, I don't. I don't really care. Be whoever you want to be and whatever comes naturally to you. No skin off my nose. I'm just saying I don't like the view of femininity as an inconvenience or something worthy of disdain and condescension, because I have never found it to be so. Right, so we're cool, yeah? We can be friends. So I guess you could call me something of a tree hugger, and no, I don't throw those words around lightly. I've basically been a tree hugger since I exited the womb, and yes, I am happy to provide you with my credentials to prove it. Like most tree huggers, around the age of 6, I made the transition from just hugging them to also include climbing them and reading in them. And then around the age of 16, I made the further transition onto the advanced level of passing out drunk in them. So yes, trees are great, big fan. This love isn't restricted just to trees though. I love all the plants and little creatures, except the gross ones, like spiders and parasitic brainworms, because they can go die in a hole. But all the other little plants and little creatures are a beautiful part of creation that I love. Now, as most of you undoubtedly will know, Pocahontas is big on nature. And me, age 4, was a big fan of this aspect of the movie. Because, again, I loved Grandmother Willow and her very vague advice.
If you listen, they will guide you.
And all the little animal friends, and the fact that there was air magic that let you understand a whole language that you hadn't even learned. If you just, all you had to do was listen with your heart, and the leaf spirits would make the words make sense.
You don't understand a word I'm saying, do you?
Listen with your heart, you will understand.
My name is Pocahontas.
And by the way, I've just got a bone to pick here. Where the hell were all the leaf spirits when I was trying to pass my GCSE German? Because I tried listening with my heart, with my ears, with my liver. I mean, honestly, every organ gave it a go, from my brain to my ovaries. But apparently the leaf spirits didn't want to help me get good grades. Anyway, in order for this movie not to be questionable, we're gonna have to pretend that it has absolutely nothing to do with Native American culture. And it's instead about a new age hippie community who has a magical affinity for rocks. Because, I mean, I'd love to hear the wolf cry at the blue corn moon and ask the grinning bobcat why he grins and sing with all the voices of the mountains and paint with all the colours of the wind just as much as the next girl.
Hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon.
But I also recognise the boiling the many different aspects of Native American culture down to leaf spirits and painting with magic wind colours is not the most respectful thing to do. Having said that, I've got to admit that I am a big fan of leaf spirits and magic wind colours, and I really liked this aspect of the movie, especially when I was 4. I thought the artwork of the landscapes was beautiful. I thought the love and appreciation of nature in this movie was beautiful, and Pocahontas teaching John Smith that the real gold of the New World is the beautiful landscape around them. Well, I'm not ashamed to admit that brought a tear to my eye.
You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim.
I got a real sense of respect for nature from this movie, a sense that went beyond, oh, is the Disney princess that talks to the little birdies and likes all the pretty flowers. Let's move on to the next point.
You sing a lot too, like especially during rehearsals. We all sing.
So the other controversial aspect of this movie is the Savages song.
Savages, barely even human!
Where they're all singing savages at each other. So the Europeans call the Native Americans savages, but then the Native Americans are also calling the white people savages.
Savages, savages!
What? which, as Lindsay Ellis pointed out, maybe this wasn't the best decision. But remember guys, we're temporarily pretending that this movie is about a new age hippie community with a magical affinity for rocks, who are angry at another group of people for some reason. Because if we do that, then this part of the movie can be emotional and meaningful rather than tone deaf. Sure, so maybe this movie didn't pick the best context to get this message across in, but 4-year-old me didn't understand the context. And all I got was the underlying message. And the underlying message is actually, I think, a good one. Even if maybe poorly done in that context of the invaders and the people. Yeah, maybe not. But as a message about humanity, I thought it was good. Don't know, maybe it could be wrong, but I thought it was good. The message that I got from this scene, I wrote it down. I'm going to be reading from this. Actually, well, I wrote everything down. This is all scripted. Oh, what? I just broke the fourth wall. Oh my god. I can't be bothered to look at that and memorize it and then say it to the camera anymore. So I'm just going to read this part here because I wrote... So this is about the savages scene and this, the message that I got when I was 4. Human beings are all more similar than we think, no matter where we come from. We're all human and all share the same emotions and responses and fears and love and things like that. And all our differences are superficial and kind of unimportant when you get right down to it, because we're all from the same planet and we share a home. We're all the same species and part of the same human family. Quite literally, actually, if you go back far enough, we are all part of the same family, which is a really weird thought if you think about it. A really, really big and dysfunctional family. But a family nonetheless. But it's true though, whether we like it or not, every single one of us is interconnected. No one exists in a vacuum separate from the rest. No man is an island, they say. Yeah, okay, so maybe I didn't grasp all of that when I was 4. But I gathered the vague sentiment. Innocent and ever so naive as I was, I thought, hey, we don't have to fight anymore if we can just see past our differences to the shared humanity beneath.
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles and we'd all eat it. Be happy. And
okay, I know I'm not American, so maybe your issues aren't really any of my business.
She doesn't even go here.
But I just have a lot of feelings. John Smith and Pocahontas' relationship was really the only one out of all the Disney princesses that 4-year-old me, thought was well developed. Not that I was really critically analysing things when I was 4, but it did like subconsciously, you know? I was like, oh, that they love each other more. Firstly, Snow White and Cinderella both clearly married the same bloke, and you will not convince me otherwise. But I really do hope they're all very happy together as devout members of the Mormon Church. Even if Prince Charming is a boring cardboard cutout, both girls barely exchanged 2 words with before they got married. And then there's Aurora, who met the love of her life in a dream.
Oh, he's not a stranger. We've met before. Once upon a dream.
Which apparently is a strong enough foundation to build a relationship on. And don't even start with me by saying that Ariel and Belle got well-developed relationships. Ariel was a fangirl who had the mermaid equivalent of posters of Eric in her bedroom, and she fell in love with him on that basis. Teenage girls never could resist a cute musician. Am I right, ladies?
Oh, he's very handsome.
And okay, sure, so Belle got some time to get to know her love interest, but he was an actual animal for all of it, and because this channel does not condone bestiality or, in fact, kidnapping as the healthy beginnings to a relationship, we're not going to count that. And then we've got Pocahontas and John Smith. And yes, like everything else in this video, I'm going to ask you to set aside your knowledge of history and see this relationship through my innocent and unknowing 4-year-old eyes. And yeah, I will be consistently calling him that throughout the whole rest of this video, because I am pretty sure that John Smith is his real first name.
John Smith.
John Smith.
John Smith.
John Smith.
John Smith.
John Smith. John Smith. John Smith, I think it's French. Pocahontas and John Smith had a real relationship. They had chemistry, they had conversations and disagreements and character growth. Yeah, sure, as has been pointed out, he was kind of a dick to her. with the whole...
We've improved the lives of savages all over the world.
Savages?
Which admittedly, that's not great. But, you know, he learns from this.
I cannot see if the savage one is me.
At least this distinguishes him clearly from, you know, some impossible ideal of Prince Charming. He's not some perfect, infallible guy who swoops in to save her. No, he's a real person. And like most real people, he can sometimes be a rude and arrogant, smelly head. And this way, there's also character development. And how does character development make him a better person? Only in the purest and most magnificent way possible, through the power of love.
We are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends.
Open your third eye, people, and see the truth. Listen with your heart chakra, and you will understand. There's a clear pull between John Smith and Pocahontas, a reason for them to be together that goes beyond I'm a prince, you're a princess, and we both have great hair, so let's spend forever in each other's company and also occasionally have the sex.
Soft and bouncy.
No, that is not a strong enough foundation for a relationship. Guys, I hate to break it to you, but it's really not. Pocahontas and John Smith were so clearly equals. She didn't drift along with no purpose until he turned up, and then he became a whole reason for existing, and he didn't either. They were kindred spirits, both adventurers, both stubborn and wild and brave, leaders who both had their own purposes outside of each other. It was just meeting each other allowed them to become better people than they had been previously. They grew as people and learnt from each other.
When I say uncivilized, what I mean is...
What you mean is, not like you.
And that ending? Oh, perfection. The first time I saw Pocahontas, my little baby brain was watching that ending, and okay, I can't remember exactly what I was thinking, but I'm 99% sure that the words, "Why, Disney, would you do something so controversial and yet so brave?" were running through my head. Look how much Pocahontas loves him. She runs after the ship and stands on the rock watching him go. And they raise their hands to each other in mutual love and respect, and it's so exquisitely bittersweet. This wasn't some sickly sweet Disney princess happily ever after. No, this was a more genuine expression of love that was moving and happy and tragic all at the same time, where two people put the well-being of others above being together. Cassandra Clare, I can see you're not paying attention, but this part is especially relevant to you, so I really think you should be taking notes. Pocahontas' people needed her. And yes, she loved John Smith, but she also loved her home and her people, and John Smith knew this. And he didn't ask her to give up her life and her people for him and his happiness.
Come with me.
I'm needed here.
Then, I'll stay with you.
No, you have to go back.
And by the same token, Pocahontas didn't let John Smith stay, because otherwise...
He'll die if he stays here.
Well, otherwise he would have died, so maybe that was an easier choice to make. But either way, that's how much they loved each other. They cared about their partner's well-being and happiness, even when that meant they had to let the other person go. And that is what true love is, the very opposite of possession and ownership and obsession. Here we have an example of two people who are not codependent, who are not nothing without each other. They were strong enough to recognise that they each had a purpose elsewhere. I know it's sad, but don't worry guys, don't cry, it's okay. Their love is so strong it transcends the bounds of the physical world and exists on the spiritual plane.
But I can't leave you.
You never will. No matter what happens, I'll always be with you. Forever.
In conclusion, this film is a sugar-coated, fantasy, romanticised reimagining of real events, which is Disney all over. I know how this movie presents history is absolutely nothing like how it really went down. For one thing, the real Pocahontas was dead in England by 21. And also, she didn't marry John Smith, she married a different Englishman. So get owned, John Smith, I guess. Joking aside, Taken like that, yes, this movie kind of sucks. But you can't help what you love. No matter how many times I watch this movie, every single time I cry. I love it. I love her. I love the story, even though yes, the story is totally fabricated. And I love the music, and I always have done. I'm also one of those people who loves the movie Avatar for basically all the same reasons that I love Pocahontas. And yes, I know that they're basically the same movie, and also that a lot of people also hate Avatar. And I'm sorry, I can't help it. I just love that movie so much. So maybe I'm not the best person to have made this video because I'm well aware that I am incapable of being objective or fair about Pocahontas. Love is blind, they say. Yeah, and no matter how offensive or tone deaf Pocahontas might be, I just can't bring myself to hate it. Easy for me to say, I know, because I'm not Native American. So maybe you disagree completely with me and think that Pocahontas has absolutely no redeeming qualities, or that it does more harm than good. Or maybe you think that there's absolutely nothing wrong with this movie, or maybe you think that it's wrong but for totally different reasons that I mentioned. So I'll put it on to you guys. Let's have a healthy discussion. Tell me what you think. Maybe you think I'm a member of the, gonna whisper this so I don't get in trouble with the YouTube people, alt-right, for saying that I like this movie even though it's offensive. Or maybe you think that I'm a triggered SJW who's getting offended on behalf of other people. And if so, please do let me know down in the comments down below, because there was nothing more I would like than to read all that. Listen, to finish, I'm not saying that this movie isn't bad, but is it possible that it might also be good? I'm doing a giveaway where someone can get this amazing replica of the Mona Lisa. It's feminist Mona Lisa artwork, as I said at the beginning of the video, which means it's more expensive than the other one, because this one's got political message and stuff about women's. This is the Mona Lisa as seen through the eyes of a man, without her face. This is, the men can't see anything beyond the body. Tate Modern, give me a call. Can you give me a ring, please? Look, that is so good. It's got so many meanings. Painted, it's got the scent of strip clubs on it. So, you know, it's worth a lot of money. Actually, you know what? Let's cut out the middleman. Anyone, my YouTube subscribers, be willing to pay good money for this? I'll be reasonable. I'll be reasonable because I love you and you're my subscribers and you help me. I'll start bidding at £1 million. Any takers for £1 million pounds. And I'll start an OnlyFans. Jokes! I'm not gonna do that. Stop. Gato, stop making those jokes. You need to stop with the jokes. You need to stop making those jokes because they're not funny. £1 million and I won't make an OnlyFans, but I'll make an OnlyFans as a feminist statement. Oh, I could do that. I'll make an OnlyFans and I'll post pictures of my soul on it. So it'll be like this, like all the images like this, because that's what the men see who don't like the women's. So I'll do that with the OnlyFans and you can subscribe and I'll post these soul, I call them, this is my soul series of how women feel. And you pay me, yeah? And we'll do that. That good? I like this business deal. I think it's be very beneficial for all parties involved. You've made a good choice, guys. I need to stop. Okay, cool. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.